where else, and they are the biggest stakeholder group of the conference today for us. They will join us in a bit, and a few of them will present their plan for 5 years. Before we get into the serious road mapping business of the stakeholders present here, I will have 3 members, three of them from 4, okay. 4 coming forward before I start my roadmap discussion. And they are the youth, the safety team. The safety team was introduced this morning. Safe is what? Substance? Abuse? Free? Who knows what? Environment. And added to that was 2 more alphabets, T and Y. And what was that? Anybody remembers? Team? Youth. We've had a good representation, and we've seriously worked to bring that representation into the hall. Linda's here, Father's here. I've been in various meetings here and abroad where they discuss large issues, and one of the seriously missing stakeholder group in those forums or conferences are the youth. The youth, and we're 28% average age in this country. 28 is our average age. And most of these discussions, these people are missing. And they have a big say. They have a huge say in what we're discussing, and because they are the future. And I invite the 3 of them here. What they've been doing parallelly while we're discussing this is they know the issue. They don't need an introduction to the issue. They are half the time in the problem. They are the ones who are trying to deal this in the face. It's in their face. And they are the ones to say Vanda. It's not easy. It's really not easy. For us, we've passed a cycle of making valuable choices, responsible choices. We just think it comes easy for us to say Vanda. But you'll see a bunch of them here who are my biggest reason to do Vanda. Okay? The reason to do Project Vanda are people like this. And the story of the youth and the young and the children that we've showcased here today is the gravity of the problem. And I invite the 3 of them. Are they backstage? We have Jessica from St. Teresa's College. St. Teresa's College, Jessica. Come over here. And she's in a Vanda t-shirt. Thank you.
Good afternoon to one and all here. I would actually like to present 2 points before you. What I believe is most importantly is the fact that we need to accept those who have had an addiction earlier back into the circle of society without reminding them of the stigma that's usually attached to it. I mean, as students, especially in India, what we consider is that the older generation are the ones who usually tend to stigmatize them. But what we fail to realize that in calling it a generation gap, we forget that we are the ones who actually mock them the most and ridicule them the most. When they come back to class, especially when they return from a rehabilitation center or a de-addiction center, it may be after 3 months or maybe after a year, but I believe we should receive them with the same amount of joy and enthusiasm we would just as any normal human being. We have to remind them that mistakes do happen. It's okay for mistakes to happen, and that the method in which they correct the mistakes is most important rather than worrying about those mistakes. I think it's time we let go of the hypocrisy and stop being judgmental. The second point I'd like to present is that we need to create a network of all the entities and organizations that are working strongly for creating a states that drug-free. Thank you.
Thank you. Amrita. Is Amrita here? Come.
Hi, my name is Amrita. I'm from Bharatmata College. നമ്മുടെ ഈ ഒരു സോഷ്യൽ സിസ്റ്റം സ്ട്രെങ്തൻ ചെയ്യാത്തത് കൊണ്ടാണ് എനിക്ക് തോന്നുന്നു ഒരു പരിധിവരെ നമ്മുടെ ഇടയിൽ ഡ്രഗ് അബ്യൂസ് ഏറ്റവും കൂടുതൽ റൈസാണ് ഉയരുന്നതിൻ്റെ ഏറ്റവും മെയിനായിട്ടൊരു കാരണം എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് നമ്മുടെ സോഷ്യൽ സപ്പോർട്ടിംഗ് സിസ്റ്റത്തെ സ്ട്രെങ്തൻ ചെയ്യുക. എങ്ങനെ നമ്മുടെ ക്യാമ്പസിൽ നിന്ന് സ്റ്റാർട്ട് ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ നമ്മുടെ ക്യാമ്പസിൻ്റെ ഉള്ളിൽ ഒരുപാട് സെല്ലുകൾ രൂപീകരിക്കപ്പെട്ടിട്ടുണ്ട്. ഒരുപാട് ക്ലബ്സ് ഉണ്ട്. NSS ആയിക്കോട്ടെ, NCC ആയിക്കോട്ടെ, അതുപോലെ ഒരുപാട് JRC ആയിക്കോട്ടെ. ആ ഒരു സെൽസിനെ കണക്ട് ചെയ്തുകൊണ്ട് ഒരുപാട് പ്രോഗ്രാംസ്, അവയർനെസ് സെഷൻസ് അറേഞ്ച് ചെയ്യുക. ഇതുപോലെ ഒപ്പം തന്നെ നമുക്ക് ചെയ്യാൻ കഴിയുന്ന ഒരു കാര്യമാണ് ഈ സെല്ല് വഴി തന്നെ നമുക്കൊരു ടോൾ ഫ്രീ നമ്പർ സ്റ്റുഡൻസിൻ്റെ ഇടയിൽ കൊടുക്കുക ചോദിക്കുകയാണെങ്കിൽ തന്നെ അവരുടെ ഫ്രണ്ട്സിൻ്റെ ഇടയിൽ ആരൊക്കെ ഡ്രഗ് യൂസ് ചെയ്യുന്നു അതിനെക്കുറിച്ചൊരു ഇൻഫോർമേഷൻ അവർക്ക് കിട്ടുവാണെങ്കിൽ അത് ബന്ധപ്പെട്ട ടീച്ചേഴ്സിനോ അതുപോലെ തന്നെ NGOസിനോ അതുപോലെ അവർക്ക് കൗൺസിലിംഗ് ആവശ്യമാണെങ്കിൽ അങ്ങനെയുള്ള ഏജൻസിയിലേക്കോ അങ്ങനെ മൊത്തത്തിൽ തന്നെ ഒരു സോഷ്യൽ സിസ്റ്റത്തെ എൻ്റയർ സോഷ്യൽ സിസ്റ്റത്തെ സപ്പോർട്ട് ചെയ്യുക, സ്ട്രെങ്തൻ ചെയ്യിച്ചെടുക്കുക എന്നതാണ് നമുക്ക് ചെയ്യാൻ കഴിയുന്ന ഏറ്റവും നല്ലൊരു കാര്യം. പിന്നെ നമ്മുടെ ഇന്നത്തെ ഒരു സ്കൂൾ സിസ്റ്റം അനുസരിച്ച് ഏറ്റവും കൂടുതൽ പ്രയോറിറ്റി കൊടുക്കുന്നത് ഫുൾ A+ ഹോൾഡേഴ്സിനായിരിക്കും. നമുക്കറിയാം ഫുൾ A+ ഇട്ടിട്ടുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ അതിന് ഫ്ലെക്സ് വെക്കും, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ആ കുട്ടി എന്തോ നേടി ആ കുട്ടിയുടെ എഡ്യൂക്കേഷൻ ലെവലിനെ കുറിച്ചായിരിക്കും നമ്മുടെ എൻ്റയർ സൊസൈറ്റി ഡിസ്കസ് ചെയ്യും. അവന് കൂടുതൽ ഇമ്പോർട്ടൻസ് കൊടുത്തുകൊണ്ടായിരിക്കും നമ്മുടെ സൊസൈറ്റി നിലനിൽക്കുക ചെയ്യുന്നത്. പലപ്പോഴും ഡ്രോപ്പ് ഔട്ട് ആവുന്ന അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഫെയിലിയർ ആവുന്ന കുട്ടികളെ കുറിച്ച് ആരും തന്നെ ചിന്തിക്കുന്നില്ല. ഇതെൻ്റെ ഒരു റിക്വസ്റ്റ് ആണ്. ഇവിടെ ടീച്ചേഴ്സ് ഇരിക്കുന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ തന്നെ അവർ ചിന്തിക്കേണ്ട ഒരു കാര്യമുണ്ട്. ഡ്രോപ്പ് ഔട്ട് ആവുന്ന കുട്ടികളെ കുറിച്ച് പഠിക്കുകയും കാരണം അവരുടെ പ്രശ്നങ്ങളെ മനസ്സിലാക്കുകയും അവർ കൂടുതൽ സോഷ്യൽ ഡീവിയൻസിന് അതുപോലെ തന്നെ ഡ്രഗ്സ് യൂസ് ചെയ്യാൻ ചാൻസസ് ഉള്ളതുകൊണ്ട് അങ്ങനെയുള്ള കുട്ടികളെ കണ്ടെത്തിക്കൊണ്ട് അവരുടെ ഇടയിൽ ക്രിയേറ്റീവ് സ്കിൽസ് ഡെവലപ്പ് ചെയ്യിക്കുക. അത് സ്പോർട്സിലായിക്കോട്ടെ, എക്സ്ട്രാ കരിക്കുലർ ആക്ടിവിറ്റീസ് ഏതു തന്നെ ആയിക്കോട്ടെ, അതിൽ അവരെ സ്ട്രെങ്തൻ ചെയ്യിക്കാൻ സൊസൈറ്റി കൂടുതൽ പ്രയോറിറ്റി കൊടുക്കണം. അതിന് അവർ അങ്ങനെയുള്ള കുട്ടികളുടെ ഇടയിലേക്ക് കൂടുതൽ NGOസും അതുപോലെ തന്നെ നമ്മുടെ സോഷ്യൽ സിസ്റ്റംസ് എല്ലാം തന്നെ കണക്ട് ചെയ്യുന്ന ഒരു റിക്വസ്റ്റാണ് ഈ ഒരു വേദിയിൽ എനിക്ക് പറയാൻ തന്നെ ഉള്ളത്. പിന്നെ ഇങ്ങനെ എൻ്റെ ഒരു സൊസൈറ്റിക്ക് എല്ലാവരെയും തന്നെ സൊസൈറ്റിയുടെ എല്ലാ ഭാഗങ്ങളിൽ നിന്നുള്ള ആളുകളെ കണക്ട് ചെയ്യുന്നത് ഇത്ര എഫക്റ്റീവായിട്ടൊരു പ്രോഗ്രാം ഇവിടെ കോർഡിനേറ്റ് ചെയ്തതിൻ്റെ പ്രൊജക്റ്റ് വേണ്ടയ്ക്ക് എൻ്റെ വലിയൊരു നന്ദി എൻ്റെ ഭാഗത്തുനിന്ന് ഞാൻ അർപ്പിച്ചു കൊള്ളുകയാണ്. കാരണം ഇന്ന് ഈ ഒരു വേദിയിൽ നിന്നുകൊണ്ടാണ് നമ്മൾ ഫേസ് ചെയ്യുന്ന വലിയൊരു പ്രശ്നത്തെക്കുറിച്ച് ഡീറ്റെയിൽഡ് ആയിട്ട് മനസ്സിലാക്കാൻ സാധിച്ചത്. അതിൻ്റെ ഒരു പരിഹാര മാർഗം എന്ന രീതിയിൽ ഡീറ്റെയിൽഡ് ആയിട്ട് ഒരുപാട് ഇൻ്റർനാഷണൽ സ്പീക്കേഴ്സിനെ തന്നെ ഇവിടെ കൊണ്ടുവന്നു. അവരുടെ ഓരോ ഐഡിയാസും കൺസെപ്റ്റ്സാണ് നമ്മളിന്ന് ഇവിടെ ഡിസ്കസ് ചെയ്തത്. ആ കൺസെപ്റ്റ്സിലെ നല്ല ഭാഗങ്ങൾ നമുക്ക് ഒരുപാട് രൂപീകരിക്കാൻ കഴിയട്ടെ. നമ്മുടെ സമൂഹം നേരിടുന്ന ഡ്രഗ്സിനോട് നമുക്ക് സേ ടു നോ ഡ്രഗ്സ് എന്ന് ഉറക്കെ വിളിച്ചു പറയാൻ, വേണ്ട എന്ന് ഉറക്കെ പറയാൻ നമ്മുടെ കുട്ടികളുടെ ഇടയിൽ ഒരു ആർജവം ഉണ്ടാവട്ടെ എന്ന് ഞാൻ ആശംസിക്കുന്നു. താങ്ക് യു സോ മച്ച്.
Sorry, I'm not translating. We're running out of time. I'll sit with you in the evening.
I'm afraid that I'm the only male representative to speak about this. Anyway, I'm going to talk about two specific concepts like positive culture and pub culture. And I'm studying in Bangalore where pubs are very much high, and I still have a lot of tendencies and I still have a lot of temptations to suffer from, because a lot of people calling me to come to the pub, have a booze, because that kind of society I live in, and that's India. And to live in this kind of society is pretty much hard to live in this kind of society, and I think that kind of nurturing I had in my childhood that made me to say no to this kind of world. And I think I'm a representative who will fight for this cause and who will fight against this cause, because this is some kind of a large cause we need to fight for. And there was once a friend who told me that my girlfriend ditched me and I'm going to use alcohol, because the society here, they doesn't have the problem solving capacity, they don't have the coping strategy mechanism. From childhood onwards, we have to make them realize that the world you need is a lot of problems will arise, but you have to fight for that problem and be the problem. You have to always see the cause-effect relationship for that problem. And that's it, and thank you for this opportunity.
One more, Praveena Rajagiri.
Hi, I myself Praveena. I'm representing Childline and Rajagiri School of Social Science, Kalamacheri. We all have family, right? അതുകൊണ്ട് തന്നെ നമ്മൾ വീട്ടിൽ നിന്ന് നോ പറയാൻ തയ്യാറാവണം. നമ്മളുടെ വീടുകളിൽ കല്യാണങ്ങളാവട്ടെ, പിറന്നാളുകളാവട്ടെ, എല്ലാത്തിനും ആൽക്കഹോൾ ഇല്ലാത്തൊരു പരിപാടി ഇതുവരെ കാണാൻ കേരളത്തിൽ കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ടില്ല. സോ നമ്മൾ ആദ്യം പറയേണ്ടത് നോ അവിടെ നിന്നാണ്. അങ്ങനെ നോ പറയുമ്പോൾ ആ വായ അടയ്ക്കാൻ ശ്രമിക്കാതെ അത് തുറന്ന് പറയാനായിട്ട് ശ്രമിക്കണം. ഓരോ കുട്ടിയും വീട്ടിൽ നിന്ന് തന്നെ ആൽക്കഹോളിനെതിരെ നോ പറയാൻ ശ്രമിക്കുക. അത് കുറെ പ്രൊജക്ട്സ് കൊണ്ടോ ഗവൺമെന്റ് കുറെ പ്രൊജക്ട്സ് എടുത്തുകൊണ്ടോ ഒന്നും അതിനൊരു കാര്യമുണ്ടെന്ന് ഒരു കുട്ടി എന്ന നിലയിൽ എനിക്ക് തോന്നുന്നില്ല. കാരണം ഒരുപാട് പ്രൊജക്ട്സ് പങ്കെടുത്തിട്ടുണ്ട്, ഒരുപാട് സെമിനാർ ക്ലാസ് ഒക്കെ കേട്ടിട്ടുണ്ട്. പക്ഷെ നമ്മുടെ വീടുകളിൽ നമ്മൾ പഠിപ്പിക്കണം നോ പറയാൻ. സോ എല്ലാവരും ഒന്ന് ഉറക്കെ പറയാ, വേണ്ട ആൽക്കഹോളിനോടും ഡ്രഗ്സിനോടും എല്ലാം. താങ്ക് യു.
Thank you all. Thank you all. That's very strong. I don't even have to stand here the next 20 minutes to say anything because that's very strong. That's a very strong voice, and that's the kind of voice we have. We forget to see that there is resource already ready. Young people know what's right and wrong. And at Vendor, we don't go around telling them, don't do it because it does this to your brain, it does this to your body. But they know. They make those choices with the knowledge of it. What we do at Vendor is teach them how to say no in the face of temptation. How to say no when they're faced with this. It might be then or 5 days from our training or a month later or for all you know 5 years from the training that he's attended with us in a school, later when he's in college. But what we do is teach them to say no in the face of it. And I think we're successful. And that's why Venda is here, and that's why all of you are sitting here listening to us from morning. And I invite my next set of important people who have a stake in this, who have committed themselves to walk this journey with us, who understand there is something that they can do for the cause, and something as a vision for the state of Kerala. So I invite Mr. Jose Dominic, Mr. Swaroop, Ms. Linda Jacob, and Ambadi sir is already here. So all of them you've heard through the day. Each of them have spoken in their respective panels. What has happened today for me in specific and for my team, I stand here representing a wonderful, vibrant team. I'm just one face in this whole collage of Venda while they settle in. I am flanked by a very strong woman herself, Shalini. She's not here. You've been seeing her from morning on the stage. Where's Shalini? Stand up, Shalini. You deserve that recognition. She is the voice for Venda. She is the one who brings out all those communications. You've been seeing a lot of them on the screen and off the screen in your bags. All of that is coming from her desk with a wonderful team that works along with her. And I have a good set of 20 people from the office. They're all over the place. I'm sure they're starting from the gate. They're all working. They're still at work. Some of them are in the hall. I thank all of you. I thank each of you to have made this conference possible. When I start this panel today, I have a couple of things that I have gathered personally from today's discussion. I've been keenly sitting in the front row watching you all because for me, this is a reality of what we've been trying to do in the last 1 year of trying to bring all of you all to this table. It's an easy 1 year's effort to bring these people who have a voice in this sector to come together and discuss that there is an issue. So this is a couple of my takeaways, okay? The entire panel from the morning, starting with the Swaroop and his discussion on how to look at it from a family perspective, to the last voice here from Purnima, which said it's the home where we start our work. All of us, I think, have come to the agreement that we need to work together. All of you said that. All of you said that, and that also was the theme of why we came together. The second thing that I'm taking home is that we need to work at various levels. I work at the grassroots with Venda. There are people who can influence at the government level and the policy levels. You all are sitting here. There are people who can influence in the economic circles. There are people who can influence in the media circles. And people sitting here, I'm sorry, there are very important people sitting in this room, very quietly soaking in all of this. But all of you deserve a lot of appreciation because you all are important for this fight. And I understand that we have to work at different levels, and we need to look at best practices. And that's why all my international speakers also make a big contribution to this conference. There are best practices just next door to to where our problem lie to success stories abroad. And success stories where problems have been solved. So I thank all of you, every one of you sitting here, and these are my personal takeaways. Something that we have all agreed upon are the three that I mentioned. But there is something else that we need to look at as we go into the next panel. That is that we have the capability to execute what we have discussed today. We have the power to do it. Each one of us sitting here, either individually or together, have the power to execute what we have spoken. We have discussed some very high-level policy commitments to some very low grassroots interventions, to some peripheral issues of reaching out to people who really deserve this attention in the places where they face this. So we have the capacity to execute what we have discussed today. We have the will from various stakeholder groups we've engaged with today. We have the will. They've all expressed their will, and I'm not going into that long list of commitments we've got. And last of all, we have a problem. That was my biggest takeaway, because everywhere we went to we've been working 3 years on Vendor, but everywhere we went to with a problem on a personal note, everybody we met would agree that there is an issue, but they would not come to consensus to say we have a large problem to solve. So my takeaway is that we have a problem, and a problem that is in our face. All of you said that. I think every speaker sort of aligned to that we have a problem and the problem is in our face, and it's time to do something. So with that note, I know all of you, I've spent literally a couple of hours with many, a day with many, sometimes it's just a 10 minutes phone call with y'all, but all of us have spoken personally. We have met, we have discussed the issue. So it matters to me that we are here at the last roadmap panel. This is just the beginning for us to chart our journey together. If we start now, I think we are early on in the race in saving our generation to come. So I'll ask Swaroop to sort of summarize what the media strategy or his vision or the vision of the morning panel would be. We'll go back home to our desks and draw this out as a plan, and we will ensure that we follow up and circulate. So I would like you to share something from your day's gathering.
I think what I would like to share is that certain things changed in my mind across the day, and which is, I asked myself, how many times have I been an active advocate of what I spoke today, what I listened to today? Not many times is the honest answer. Now, these things don't come your way often. There are people who come to you with specific problems, and then you talk to them. But I have never reached out on my own to find out if there's a problem. And I know that in certain places there are problems, and they don't want to talk about it. So I also just move away. So maybe there is merit in gentle but firm intervention, especially in places where you can intervene. And I think somewhere in my head I've made a decision that maybe I should experiment with it and see where it goes, because I think that's very important. And so far as the media thing goes, you were specific about the media. I think one commitment that we have made in the panel, I think we will push, which is the fact that we will help you spread awareness. We will help you fight your specific battles, especially from a communication point of view. We will get you we'll help you get the message across. And we'll handhold you for that. And I'm sure that Shreyans and Times of India and all other media will, if you go to them with a clear plan, see, very often we're just talking, and that doesn't help. So everyone says, okay, we'll support. But if we go to them with a clear plan, with a clear request for help, I'm sure that they will come forward. And it is just that we need to, what I'm very unclear about now is we need to figure out the strategy. And we need to figure out how this can all kind of, after this day, sink in. We need to imbibe, be with it for some time, and then look at the larger picture, sitting together, and then figure out how we can chart out a media strategy specifically for this? Initial thoughts.
I think I quickly ran through things which need to be done in and through the school system, which means that government has to be fully convinced about this. The government knows that there is a problem, but with the the overemphasis on marks and grades and school syllabus, completing textbook portions, this aspect tends to be overlooked. And as he said, sometimes you just pretend you did not see it, you don't notice it, push it under the carpet. And there are many teachers, we talk to teachers, they tell you very openly that we know that children come with liquor in their water bottles, which they consume in the classroom. They do use drugs, and that they also spread it among other children. The habit is spread with other children. But very often they are helpless. Thanks to a system where we say that the child should not in any way be mentally or emotionally harassed. This is always looked at as a form of harassment. So, when I was doing this rules, we spoke about how we could discipline a child, how we could motivate a child to not only in the academics but also in what is right behavior, right lifestyles. And they said, the whole of India is looking at quality education, getting them all into school and seeing that they remain there. But this sort of problem is somewhere which you people, we look to Kerala to come out with solutions, come out with a sort of activity which could bring this about. So that puts a big responsibility on us. We do have a lot of experience. We have many schools which have countered this problem. We have many schools which have worked and given enough awareness, enough support so that children have been taken away from that. But they don't speak about it because very often we feel that when there are cases of substance abuse, when there are cases of sexual harassment or sexual violence, abuse against children, it's all kept under wraps. So they don't want to speak about it. So this also is a huge problem before us. The thing is, as part of this forum, the discussions, the deliberations, you come out with an action plan and you put it through the media saying that this is what we find, our survey, whatever it's worth, it's okay. We have such figures, this is what we need to do. And once you put it in some of the, Mr. Shreyas Kumar has offered all support, so too Times of India. So if other newspapers can also be brought in, this is what is happening in our schools and we need to do something about it. And these are the action plan which we want to do and which the government should do, what NGOs can do, what parents can do, what the community can do. And working within the system, as I also mentioned some things, and I'm trying to take them up seriously. I mentioned them already, but I would like to just one point. See, Kerala has been an exemplary, we have an exemplary model in how we fought tobacco use among children. We fought tobacco use and we have sort of contained it to a very large extent. That is actually borne out by figures and facts and figures, because the students were exposed to a large number of posters showing the very serious health effects, cancers and various health disorders that come due to tobacco use. And this was propagated directly by the government missionary using the public relations, using the Department of Education, using the student movements like Scouts and Guides, NCC, Junior Red Cross, and there are so many of them. We used all of them. And that was a really useful exercise because children stopped using. And they also took up that responsibility of telling their parents, their fathers, their brothers, their relatives, stop tobacco. We don't want even passive smoking. So that had a good effect. I think something on those lines could help here. We need to work out the strategies. And let's see what happens. I'm sure with so many good hearts working together, we can expect only good.
See, I have this problem of I don't know how to say no. So when Shalini and Diana came to me, I used Sheldon's were saying that the no is the new yes. Now, my impression about the abuse by children doesn't happen in our kind of place. There's fringe elements only. Not in a state like Kerala, maybe somewhere in Bihar. But spending that day or the few hours with Diana and Shalini came into as a shock. And then today it was reinforced by some of the statements made today. When I think it was Dr. George, what's his name, who said there's more abuse today than ever before, historically. But we don't see it there, but except in this forum, we've never heard it as an alarming situation. We had some virus which went around 2 weeks ago. That was big alarm. But here, I think there's equal cause for that. But it has not caused any, it's something which is, see, Kerala, now on this score, when the earlier session was on, I sent a question. The question, I think I sent it a little too late for it to be answered. The question was, prohibition or responsible drinking? That's current debate in the state. Now, somewhere this is related to this topic. Of course, as far as adults are concerned, that question is there.
Yes.
And for children, there is absolutely no two ways about it, except it. But in any way, speakers have said the children will follow the adults. And in every function we have, in every social function, there is alcohol served. In every, and then I think the girl or the boy who came in said about the pub culture. It's the in thing, the done thing. You're not in if you don't. So it's a mixed bag. And when you look at Kerala, tourism has been driving its economy. It's almost 10% of our gross value added comes from this sector. And 1 out of 3 new jobs come from this sector. And at the same time, when the prohibition was announced, we saw the huge impact it had on creating jobs. The example I cited, how jobs created hope, and hope was the best answer against abuse. So it's a mixed bag. So I think what my big takeaway is, there is a big crisis. But we don't have the facts. I think we first and foremost get the facts. I know the chart that was put out on Iceland, which showed the declining graph, and because of all the other reasons that is there. Can we have a graph put out for Kerala?
Wow. Yeah.
The facts, we must put it out. If the facts are out, thinking people will act. Today we are in blissful ignorance. So I think our first start with that. And once we have information out there, I'm sure there will be action. I think from what my contribution could be, take this views to industry forums, to CII, to the hotel industry, and say that we must, there has to be in those forums, in fact, I use the argument, I just take a little aside to this. When the Supreme Court of India made the prohibitory order against distance from bars, in Kerala, the High Court also made a very big strictures and negative orders against alcohol and bar policy of the state. The High Court had a hearing which was before the Labour Secretary and the Tourism Secretary to assess impact, and the industry and various other civil society organized, prohibition organized, all came and made and presented themselves before this committee. And on behalf of industry, I was asked to be there. So when there, one, and this I say this, and I said that to Diana also before, I narrated an incident that when Pope John Paul II came to Kerala, I think it was 1986, we as a hotel had the honor of serving two dinners to His Holiness the Pope in two separate venues. And in the first dinner, in the evening, as we went around, and I think there was the Cardinal said, Your Holiness, Your Eminence, what will you... He said, and without thinking, he said, I'll have a beer. The Pope, John Paul II. We had anticipated all these things, and we had a bottle of beer. And then, of course, everybody else naturally had to have beer also. And I'm narrating it before this commission set up by the High Court. And then I said, on the second day, we prepared meen pollichu, that is fish in banana leaves. That's a very big speciality of Kerala, with a lot of spice in it. So when you open it, there is this aroma and steam will come out. We opened that. And there was sitting next to the Pope was the papal nuncio. And the Pope asked, looking at this and seeing the steam and the aroma, he asked, what wine will go best with this? So the papal nuncio said, red. So we had anticipated that and brought the best Indian wine we had, red wine, and served that. Now at this commission, there was another, I won't mention the name, another political party head came out and said, we don't need alcohol in Kerala at all. Because we have got enough boat races, we've got Kathakali, we've got our so many other attractions. So people come here not to get drunk. Therefore, if you don't have liquor, nothing is lost. So my question to this commissioner is, are we saying that the Pope came here to get drunk, having had this? So there is a line to be drawn. That's the point I'm saying. And that thin line, we have to now distinguish. I don't know, it's very judiciously be done. Certainly, we have to have a big crisis action, just as the kind of action that we had against the Ripa virus. We should go against drugs, abuse, children. We must go strongly. Industry, civil society, government, everybody in it together. But that will get lightened. That impact will get diminished if we have to be strongly and single-mindedly against that. That's the point I think my takeaway would be from that. That of course we need think tank, we need vision, we need to act with knowledge, with data, and it cannot be a side of a political debate.
I think, Jose, I'd just add to that. One of the most beautiful definitions of an addict is a person who cannot use drugs successfully. And it's from Narcotics Anonymous. And I think that is what you're talking about. No, but whatever be the substance.
Substance could be alcohol when it's abused.
Exactly.
And of course, drugs in every situation.
We are talking about a 5-year roadmap, isn't it?
Yes, I want you to focus on it. To sort of give us that vision for Subodham, which we couldn't execute. Subodham in its essence of what the government had in plan and what we need to get that done.
As we all know, we are trying to address and find solution for a very serious menace, which has international dimensions. So as a country, India is a signatory to various conventions of United Nations. So our policy has to be in alignment with the agreed principles of the conventions of which we are signatories of. So as we all know, the WHO expert group, UNODC, similarly organizations like Global Alcohol Policy Alliance, there were around 10 years of discussions that happened. at various places. And they have come out with this WHO policy and the UN policy, based on which our central government has come out with a national policy on non-communicable diseases, which include alcohol and substance abuse. Based on which Kerala government had come out with a master plan in 2010 itself. And we have this Subodham document which has been prepared in 2015 and 16. So we have tried our best to incorporate all those principles that are envisaged in all these documents, national as well as international, and the experience which we had from the implementation of the master plan. So as we all know, it has been already discussed, I just want to highlight, if we are talking about a 5-year road map, then we should have that 4 pillars which has been already mentioned in this global policy, that we should have action plan for supply reduction, demand reduction, harm reduction, and we should have appropriate research and evaluation mechanisms. As we all know, supply reduction is most probably done as a part of the alcohol or the drug policy. Something like sin tax that has been in a practice in countries like Thailand. The government has tried that. I think that was a question on the 300 crores that has been collected as cess as part of the Subodham fund. Most probably that collected fund could be there in the consolidated fund. But what are the mechanisms in which we can actually generate resources for such activities? And what are the legal things which we can have, like the timings, the age, the volume, the distance, all those things comes as part of that law. There is another aspect regarding drug as well. There is a lot of discussion that is happening that, as we all know, as per our Narcotics Act, only if a person is carrying 1 kilogram, 1000 grams of ganja, then only it becomes a non-bailable offense. If he is carrying 999, then it is a bailable offense. So there has been advocacy from various groups which say that this rule has to be changed. So what I am saying is that as an advocacy group, we have to sit together and decide on what all policies, what all areas which we have to stretch, and what all things has to be brought onto the notice of the government, put pressure on the government to take adequate supply reduction measures, including legislations. The second thing, as we know, that when we are classifying addicts or the potential addicts or normal people who can be addicted, we say that they belong to either green zone, amber zone, or the red zone. The green zone people are not at all affected by this. Amber zone people are in the vulnerable areas that can be affected. And red zone people are who are already addicted and they need treatment and rehabilitation. As we all know, if we are looking at youth, we are looking at students, most of them will be in the green zone. So here comes the importance of demand reduction. This is one of the most important areas we have to address if we are trying to address this larger group of students and children. There we have devised 2 kinds of strategies. One strategy was on actions and activations, which was based on schools, colleges, then community interventions and media-based interventions. So Madam was telling that, the issue regarding alcohol, and there is a small difference in this. Actually, as we all know, even it is tobacco or even if it is alcohol, that is being legally sold. So the campaigns can also work in that way. But the most important thing that happens with drugs is that, as I told you earlier, it is an illegal trade. And there is huge money behind that. There is a small booklet which we have supplied along with this kit. In this Nammuda Kochi, 3 or 4 incidents have been mentioned in which how a 13-year-old student, an 18-year-old student have been lured in this industry because of the money behind that. There is huge money power behind that. So the strategy which we have to adopt to contain that has to be a little different from that of tobacco or alcohol, because we are actually fighting an unknown or unseen monster. So school level interventions has to be very strong. Let us not have clubs again. Whenever you are having some intervention, people will say that let us have some club. So I think that the school has been fed up with all those clubs. So whether it is not a question of having another club, but we should have new mechanism in which these things happens in schools, how their energy can be tackled, how this can be part of the curriculum, how this can be part of your pedagogy, so that organized learning take place as part of teaching itself, how community-based intervention, how we can intervene, how can we interact with or intermingle with NGOs and other like-minded organizations. That's very important. And And finally, media. Swaroop had mentioned a little bit, but there is a lot of possibility of having the connect with the media. The media can be motivated, had been made partners to run campaigns, non-paid campaigns in channels. For example, one channel had run a campaign like Kudiyalli Jeevitam. There's a campaign on their own. So we can always motivate people to handhold and run similar campaigns. But one sensitive thing which media always misses, which we have to take it to them, is that whenever they are actually showing those campaigns, showing a story probably on a drug haul or drug addiction, they are actually showing it in a way that it becomes very attractive to the person who sees. So as we always say, as I told you in the earlier, whenever we are actually trying to say that you should not go there, we always have tendency to know what it is. So when you are saying that this is like that, this is like that, so the media has to be educated in a way how to cover such stories as well. Then we should have, the government should have also enough funds set apart for doing good campaigns with the help of the media. So that these messages, as I told you, everyone has a solution. Everyone comes to you and says that I have a very good idea. I have a very good ad made. This is one, and of course the ad will be very wonderful. There is no doubt about that. But as we say, that will not be effective. Because probably, as we say, the operation was successful, but the patient died. There will not be any impact for that ad. An ad per se will be a very wonderful idea, it will be exciting, but it will not have any impact, desired impact on our target audience. So we should have evidence-based mechanisms in which, so that WHO in its study has very clearly told that fear-based campaign on alcohol will not work. Fear will not work. That has been documented. Only evidence-based advertisements will work. So when we are devising a campaign, how those can be made. And what is the importance of a roadmap and a policy is that we will not have a piecemeal kind of approach. Everybody doing something at everywhere, which are probably at crossroads, or again the messaging conflicts. That will not happen. So there is a need for us to also, in this 5 year, where we are trying to hit. So that consensus has to be evolved, and based on that consensus in the message has to be formulated.
Thank you.
And one more point regarding harm reduction. Dr. Harish Pillai had said that there is a need for coordination among various organizations. But one of the important things is that strengthening the existing mechanism that is available in our district hospitals, primary health centers, as well as in medical colleges, and tying up with the private hospitals so that these existing resources can be utilized. And second thing is that to train the existing doctors right from primary health center up to the medical colleges and the doctors who are in the private sector to address this issue. So I think with research and evaluation, I have already told in my first presentation. So I think we should have a very proper subgroup or something formulated after this that will sit together and work on a consensual approach of creating a 5-year roadmap with what should be our idea after 5 years, what we are trying to address, what we are trying to achieve, how much reduction in these statistics. So that is why I told that insights are important. So we have to do a baseline survey first. Based on that, let us have a roadmap for 5 years, and let us have a study every year and after the 5 years, so that we will know that after 5 years where we stand. Thank you.
Thank you. To summarize the day and the last panel, I'm somebody who believes that we don't have to reinvent the damn wheel, okay? People have done it. We just need to look around, and there are enough examples for us to buy from and borrow and see if it works in our context. So for me, borrowing from WFAD, which I see is the champion in the league, we are nowhere compared to that league. I will, from Linda's slide, I'm borrowing it from your slide. Of the 5 stakeholder groups that we've had today, the media and the tourism fall under one banner of prevent, don't promote. We have a big responsibility of prevention and not promoting it. So the media needs to do everything in its arsenal, in its capacity to send messages of prevention, because we are there now. It's not good or bad anymore. It's planned, strategic messaging to targeted communities, especially now we're discussing children. I am seriously not in the debate of adults and responsible choices and alcohol, and like JD said, not those choices, but we are talking about children and their safety. So if it is a targeted messaging campaign or whatever we discussed this morning, we have our notes in place. We're going to bring out the document in a day or two. We'll go public on it. We will clearly have to fall under the prevent and not promote for media and tourism. We will have to do everything in our capacity to not promote this thing as a tourism state or as you and the entire state wanting to take advantage of the tourism banner. So the media and tourism will have to do work on the strategy of prevent, not promote. While the other three, the health, the schools, and the NGOs together. That is the schools and all representatives who are here this morning, who are watching us live. It's streaming live, and we keep getting comments from, questions from people who are watching us live. There is a segment that is really involved in this discussion, and I think the rest of the three stakeholder groups fall into the category of rediscovering our recovery process and keeping kids away. So the large banner for us is just there. It's available. Our messaging has to be clear. We have to find our fit into these two boxes because we easily fit in there. And strategies are available. We have our own very robust strategies. I always believe the government is the largest missionary we have to reach to the masses. It's undeniable in a country like India. It's the hands, like the primary health centers, the schools in the government system, the RMSA reach, the SSA reach. You can't even imagine as Sweden or Iceland, the kind of networks we have, we're really large. And we have our last leg impact process. The problem is we don't implement. And we'll have to find a way as teams here, working with schools, working with the health system, and working as NGOs to find our recovery models, our prevention strategies to keep kids away, and also our plan and process to get our data in place. So we've all agreed upon that. From morning we're talking about where are the numbers, where are the numbers. Show us the numbers, we take action. Show us the numbers, there's seriousness in the issue. So as Vanda, as a bunch of people we've been meeting over the year to discuss this, we already have a commitment from Iceland. Iceland has a model of successfully implementing a data collecting methodology sensitive to all stakeholder groups, and they've implemented it in 40 countries. And the second stage of intervention and third stage of intervention, where prevention and recovery and all of that is happening at various levels. But 40 countries have already implemented the data mining process. And they're willing to do it for Cochin and Kerala. I have had these long discussions with them. They are willing to come down, set their resources. For them, it's interesting to understand the demography, why this is happening. And for me, the case to present was students. So you already have a commitment, and they're willing to put their money in it. All you need is the willpower to execute that data process. So this is something I'm offering on the table right now to the government, to everybody sitting here, to the SSA, to all the stakeholders who are listening to me online. The system is in place, it's been executed, they have a robust model of data collection, very specific to the issue. It's not like collecting data out of an Anganwadi teacher process. It's a very clear, using the tool. We said, there is a communication tool, we are internet connection, we are internet savvy. So they have a very robust model. They're willing to come in and do the research for us. They are investing in Cochin for that. All we need is a willpower to execute. So Lida ma'am, if you can take the case to the right tables, I think we can actually move the first leg of getting our numbers. 2, we will have to come together as 3 groups who work with children, that is the education, the health, and the NGOs, and draft a good plan with subsections on education, health, and recovery work. The other 2 stakeholder groups, the media and the tourism, will have to work in another draft paper. This is how I see it, on prevent, not promote mode. So having all these points in place, the larger vision of it, the way I understand S.A.F.E will work. We will have this every year, the same time. We are actually commemorating the World Anti-Narcotics Day week. 26 is the World Anti-Narcotics Day, and Venda is committed to doing S.A.F.E for the next 5 years on a strategy of actually making all those commitments that we've, checking all those commitments we've made today, the draft paper that we'll create in the next 1 week to come, the commitments that will go public in a bit, we will come back every year to see where we've reached. Those milestones we will check. We are making this commitment on behalf of everybody who is interested in solving the problem. We are committing this as S.A.F.E and all the people here and the ones who are endorsing this otherwise online and in thought and will and goodwill. I think we're doing this for the future of our kids. It matters that we save the generation, at least in Kerala, where we'll set a story, we'll change the narrative. We'll have a story that we've changed, elsewhere the country can follow. But we have a problem. We have a problem and we're going to solve it. And I thank all of you who have been here today, all of you who have flown across the seas to join us, all of you have put your time the whole day sitting here listening to us, everybody who's watching us online. Thanks to everyone who believes that we will come together to change this. This is thanks from Vendor. The team at Vendor, can you all just wave out? The small team and the powerful team that we are. Put your hands out, guys. Half of them are here, half of them on top. Okay? This is our commitment. We will stick to it. I need the entire force here. We are a huge a force to reckon with. We will come together and solve it. I, on behalf of Vendor, you've seen what we've done for 3 years. You've seen our grassroots reach. You've seen the effort of what we want to achieve, our focus. I, on behalf of Vendor, commit to bring that paper to your desks. I will bring it with a plan and draft in place based on every point we brought out in the discussions. It's being recorded for us to go back and draft papers. We will consent with you. You can form your own core groups to then start work on this. Thank you so much. And we've closed 5 minutes ahead of time. Thank you.
A small announcement. Any volunteers who have not received their certificates, please go to the registration desk and collect your your certificates. Thank you. High tea will be served on 4th floor.